welcome to the class. I guess I'm gonna start by telling you a tiny little bit about the restaurant. So Cuchara is the product of my absolute love for Mexican food. My grandmother is 92 and she's still the best cook I have ever seen or met or experienced. I'm gonna be translated. So Angelita speaks a little English, but thankfully she didn't understand that my grandma is still my favorite cook. Anywho, I wanted to open a restaurant with traditional recipes. I have great respect for chefs and for people that explore the recipes and transform them. But I wanted the food I grew up with. I wanted the food that I care for, the food that made me feel really good when I came home from school or when I went to visit my grandma. So that's where the idea of having an all-female kitchen started. And it took me exactly 2 years from the moment I decided to do it until we opened the door. And it was basically tracking ingredients, but more than anything, getting the experienced cooks that I wanted. Mexico has started giving certain cooks, traditional cooks like Angelita, and most of them are females, a recognition. Many of these cooks don't have money or they really don't have the interest to become a chef and go to culinary school, but they know everything that is endemic to the region. Delicious. They know about every single herb, every single plant, every single animal. They raise their own animals, they kill their own animals. And that's why they have perpetuated all these recipes and all these traditions that come from the Aztecs, from the Zapotecs, from the Mayan. It's just carried on. And that's what I wanted to bring to Houston, that food that is carried on. My grandma clearly is from Mexico City, and she is still very mundane and very whatnot, but she always kept the recipes like treasures from her sister's mother-in-law, from her own mother, from her own grandmother. And even though she was in a crazy big city all her life, or she still is, she always respected the fact that if you want to do a tamal from Oaxaca, you have to get the ingredients of Oaxaca because there's something about it that makes it different. That's what I shoot for at Cuchara, and that's why I got all these amazing cooks. And while our food is Mexico City style, it's all recipes from all over Mexico. But tamales obviously are, the king of tamales is from Mexico City, which is the typical chicken cooked in green salsa. So that's what we're going to teach today. And that is our pride and joy. This is a class we've done many times. I translate. We're going to have a surprise for you. So we're going to more or less force Becky to be part of the class because I think it's easier for everyone. Well, you're going to see Angelita's super experienced hands and me trying to, explain and give a little history of tamales. I think it's good to see someone that is not involved in a restaurant. So you see how easy it is. And it's from us. I hope you already unpacked your stuff from the cute little bags Angelita put together for you, and that you put your leaves, your husks in water, and they should be soft and ready to go. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start by telling you a little tiny bit of about tamales. There are thousands of recipes for tamales in Mexico. As I said, we're gonna cook the king of tamales, which is the tamal that you will find in every corner in Mexico City. If you're hungry in the morning, you don't have a lot of time, you go to a vendor and you get a tamal to go. You can get a guajolota, which is a bread that they just cut open and put the tamal inside, so you can take it with you and you can eat it, which is a calorie, bomb. There are a lot of different tamales all throughout Mexico: corunda, suchepo, zacahuil. So as we go through, and you guys are doing your tamales, I can tell you a little bit about different ones that will blow you away because they're so unique. And hopefully now that everything is open, you can come to Cuchara sometime and try the tamales there, because we do lots of different tamales, especially in February, because that's Candlemas Day is when we traditionally in Mexico eat lots of tamales. So that's when you will have the chance to come to Cuchara and try strange recipes of tamales that come from all over Mexico. So let's go ahead and start. Angelita will ask me, and she already did, and I already said you don't have to say it in camera, but please wash your hands because as not only the way to go, but it's a tradition that you have to start cooking anything that you cook with love with clean hands, not just tamales, anything, even if you don't touch the ingredients. It is part of our culture. The grandmas, the traditional cooks, they wash their hands, and usually as they're washing, they are like releasing, if any, bad energies or whatever to start cooking. So we'll give you a second to wash your hands. Becky, you are welcome to wash your hands, please, because you're gonna prepare tamales with Angelita. And Angelita already washed like all the way from here to here because that's the way she does it, and she's very, strict with that kind of thing.
And then we're ready to take a bite of history.
And then, correct.
It's been so rewarding to see the response to this, because what you are seeing is the real authentic tamale maker, and with the abuelita.
Correct, abuelita. And I always call her viejita, abuelita, just give her many nicknames. But she's super proud to be a grandma, and that she has all these fantastic, healthy, smart children, and a lot of grandkids that keep loving her food and that keep giving her the pedestal at home that she deserves, because she works for Cuchara in the mornings, but by 3 p.m. she's free and she's cooking at home, and she won't stop cooking. She's just one of those. And just to give you an example, we had a prize. There's a Mexican band called Ángeles Azules that we all love. So we bought several tickets and we raffled them throughout with our staff, and she was one of the winners. And she's like, oh, no, I don't want to go because that day my grandson is 1 and I have to cook for him. Oh. She let go of that ticket that everyone else is obsessed. And I'm like, oh, you're so lucky. And she's like, my grandson is more important. The cooking that I'm gonna do for him is more important. So that's the amount of love and everything that all our cooks put in the food. Yeah. So anyway, okay, so we're gonna start. A ver, Angelita, por favor, señora. ¿Ya los empieza a ver? Sí, señora. Okay, so she's gonna start. Okay, so the lard that you got, you will have to melt. We didn't want to pre-melt it, so you see how it is. And there are different ways of melting it. So some of you, if you want, you can put it in your stove and put it like a low fire. It melts kind of quickly. We're gonna do microwave because it is the easiest and fastest for everyone. You can just use the same container. So we're gonna do it. Microwave it.
How long?
It will depend on the microwave, and you will have to make sure it doesn't start bubbling too much. Okay. We did 1 minute. Our microwave here in my home, your home, is a little powerful. So we'll see. We did 1 minute. I'm gonna be checking and seeing how it looks. Yeah, but usually more or less a minute or a minute and 30 seconds should be sufficient. Mm-hmm. But you guys can start doing that and see how you feel and make sure it's totally liquid. So we'll give you a second to do that. And meanwhile, Angelita is starting to open the bag with the seasoned masa.
If somebody is buying their own supplies, like we have guests from MIT and Philadelphia and New York City, can you buy a masa that's already seasoned, or how would you, if you're buying just plain masa?
Yeah, if you buy plain masa, you can add some seasoning. Basically what we do is powdered masa. We get it from a company in Mexico and they season it. We create our own seasoning, so we use a lot of different veggies and chicken broth and chicken bones. Mm-hmm. But I guess if you don't want to do something that intricate, you can buy just any seasoning, and like Goya, for example, is a good brand for seasoning. You can do plain masa, and that's something we can talk about, which is called tamal ciego, like a blind tamal. It doesn't have any seasoning or any fillings. Mm-hmm. It's just a tamal made of corn. The reason why we season it is to give it a little hint, like a little extra, because it's a restaurant, you know. I'm sure she doesn't season at home, but you have this extra level, I guess, of layers of flavors when you work in a restaurant. As far as buying it already seasoned, I have never seen it in the US. Yeah. In Mexico, yes, I've seen it. Either it's powdered or it's already made into a dough.
In here, we've never seen it seasoned. But it doesn't matter. If you don't season it, you can still make tamales. Maybe just season your chicken a little more, or if you are doing a vegetarian, say with any squash or poblano peppers, maybe just season them a little extra, put extra pepper, put extra, I don't know, bay leaves, whatever you like to season with, so the masa is not too plain. However, some people like me, we love plain masa. So it really depends on your palate. That's why we season it. So how much longer, Angelita? 1 more minute? Okay. So Angelita just added, ¿cuánto tiempo más le pusiste? Okay, she added another minute, so let's see what happens with the lard. But anyway, start putting your masa in the container. And you're gonna make fun, but Angelita's container looks really weird. She won't let me buy her new containers.
This is her masa container,
This
right?
is her masa container, and we've tried in many ways to please get her to use another one, and she says no. And at the restaurant, of course, we make such a big amount that she uses the stainless steel containers, but when she cooks for her family, for our classes, she likes this green one. Les digo que tú con tu contenedor vas a todos lados. She is like super obsessed about it. Okay, so she melted the manteca, which is the lard. Oh, and a very important note. Some people are germophobes and whatnot. You cannot be that person if you're making tamales. Don't put gloves on. It won't work. Trust me, it won't work. Okay, Angelita.
Okay, la masa ya tiene el royal y no, suiza.
So the masa is already seasoned, and she adds a tiny little bit of royal, so they go a little puffier. Royal, like the baking powder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's called
Okay.
Royal, right? Or no? What is the name? I think the brand we just call Royal, so maybe we just call it Royal, but it's like powder to
Like a
bake.
pinch of baking powder, maybe?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
make it just, I'm trying to think of the names of baking powder brands.
I don't know. We're just so. It's like when you say
Girl.
Kleenex instead of tissues,
Yeah,
we always say
exactly.
Royal, but it's a powder to bake.
Okay,
So notice how she's moving the lard with the masa.
okay.
That's why I was telling you have to do it by hand. If you try to use a spoon, which is totally acceptable, it's not the same because you are infusing like your energy into the masa. That's part of the belief of making tamales. And use your bare hands. If you have a glove, it'll be all over the glove and it's crazy.
Yeah.
So when you see, it looks more or less like this one. And there probably is not a proper description about it in words, but Becky's here to attest that it's just a little runny.
Yeah.
Then she adds the chicken broth right away, the whole amount. And she continues.
And so for those of you who got the recipe, it's 32 ounces each. Of
Yes.
Chicken broth, lard,
Mhm.
and,
And the masa,
masa.
is like 2.5 pounds.
okay.
So notice how she kind of like scrunches her hand,
This is.
which is why you cannot use a spoon.
Right.
Even in the restaurant when we make, 700 tamales and we do crazy amounts, they still do them by hand. You would
Really?
never get this texture and this consistency if you are trying to do it with a utensil. This is one of the big differences when you buy tamales that are, factory made.
Mhm.
They use those gigantic blenders and,
Right.
it's never the same as when you do them by hand.
This smells so good.
I know, isn't it? And it's gold ingredients. It's not
It
even,
smells-
I know.
I hope that you all at home are experiencing this scent as well. This is amazing. By the way, we talked about how archaeologists have found evidence that's 10,000 years old or more. I will send you some images afterwards. We found some Maya plots that are from Guatemala. And they're, CE 6 to 900 for a date. And they show tamales being steamed on a tripod steamer. So the Maya were certainly doing them. The Aztec were doing them. We have seen pictures from the Florentine Codex showing Aztec mamas, making them to celebrate a new birth.
Yeah. There are so many celebrations that still to today revolve around the food. And many include tamales, many of them. Day of the Dead, everywhere in Mexico,
Right.
tamales. There's a tamal in Yucatan, which is an amazing combination of flavors, and it has to be buried in order to be
Really?
cooked. It's not steamed, it's buried.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so
Oh, look at this. This is kind of like,
Así debe de
well,
tener la
I'm trying to think like oatmeal, not
that is a
really.
texture that you have to achieve.
Yeah,
So if we were to pick up the bowl,
it
it
doesn't.
molds like as a whole, and it's,
Okay.
you know. So now Becky, hands on, so you can touch
Okay.
it, and maybe you can help us with new
Oh.
vocabulary.
This is like grits. This is exactly like grits.
Okay.
How about that? Wow, okay. That's amazing.
Uh-huh.
Oh, gosh, that's like,
I know, it is crazy. So Angelita has the chicken that we gave you is already prepared. And let me tell you a little bit about this chicken. So the salsa is the traditional green salsa. We made it not too spicy for you because we didn't know if everyone enjoys the crazy level of spice that Angelita would prepare if she was at home. But the tamales that we want to teach you today are the traditional ones. If you didn't care for chicken or you didn't care for salsa, you can put anything that you find in your fridge, basically, inside the tamal. We taught a class a few weeks ago, and the one lady bought a kit, and then she said, well, I'm a vegetarian, and I will leave this chicken out for my neighbors. I'm just gonna make the tamal with nothing, which, as I said, is called tamal ciego. But I said, well, go open your fridge. And it was a smaller class, so everyone is interacting, and it took way longer. And she had zucchini squash, and she had some cheese. I said, okay, take out the cheese, cut it in little pieces, and let's put it in your masa.
oh,
She was so happy. She found many things in her own fridge to put in the tamales. That's why there are so many different kinds of tamales in Mexico, because the possibilities are really endless. So if you decide to choose to make tamales another time and don't use chicken, more or less pay attention how much chicken we put into the tamal, so you know that's the amount of whatever else you choose to put will be. Mexico City, traditionally the tamales are a little bigger. If you have, probably all of you have had some tamales from the north of Mexico, south of the US. They're usually skinny and they're red, like the masa is kind of red and they have a lot of cumin. Those traditionally are thin and they have just a little bit of meat or whatever they decide to put. For us in Mexico City, we put a lot of chicken and they are a little fatter. So when people make tamales at home, I usually tell them to do them that way because the skinny ones are harder to maintain. And when people try to do them that way, usually they end up not being really nice. It's better to do them a little bigger because you close them better. And if they melt a little bit when you're cooking them, you don't end up with something like broken or empty.
exactly.
So Angelita is going to show you how to assemble the first tamal. Then we're going to give you time and we can see what you guys are doing. And then Becky is going to continue.
I will be the guinea pig for you.
And make some. But notice she's still hands, okay? A ver, Angelita, hazles uno.
I would like to know,
Ajá.
Angelita, did you learn to do this from your mama?
¿Quién te enseñó a hacer tamales, Angelita?
Mi mamá.
Yeah, her mom, obviously.
Mi mamá y en el trabajo estudié experiencias en muchos trabajos.
So her mom taught her, but she gained experience throughout her
Y yo,
jobs.
yo en México, en Cuernavaca, siempre trabajé de cocinera. O sea,
She
aprendí
worked as a
mucho.
cook in Cuernavaca, Morelos in Mexico, so she learned a lot. So notice she took the leaf, the husk, she puts the masa more or less, I would say in the middle and extended a little upwards to the thicker part of the husk. You don't want to put it too down here because when you close it, it's gonna squeeze out.
Oh, okay.
Then
Yeah,
she
put
takes a
yours on that.
spoonful of the chicken.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Así.
Okay.
Se hace así.
Then she closes it to one
Okay.
side just so the masa gets
Y
stuck
luego ya
together.
esto le hace, se le mete acá,
Okay.
así.
Then she basically
Hace
rolls
eso.
it.
Okay.
Y ya esto se le hace así.
And then she folds the thin part, which is why you don't want the masa all the way to that part. We've had live classes at the restaurant where people put the masa all the way down here.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
when they fold,
Yeah.
you even hear the noise. It comes out and it's a mess and it breaks and just is not proper. So we're going to have Becky, guest of honor, try to do one and see how she feels. Angelita is here to correct and she has no
She's
shame
on you.
in correcting.
So about that much?
A ver,
Try it and you'll see.
Okay. And how thin to spread it out is the question as well.
¿Qué tanta
Más.
masa crees? ¿Más?
no,
Angelita
más
says
extendida.
it's extended a little more.
Oh, okay.
So
And
it's
here a
not
little bit
super
more.
thick.
Okay. And maybe over
Un
here a bit more.
poquito para acá. Ya es ok.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. So now get your spoonful of chicken.
A lot of chicken.
I know. And this is where personal taste obviously comes. Maybe some people would be like, oh my God, no,
Too
I want
much?
less,
Mhm.
but it's okay.
It's
it's
okay. Okay. And now
Close it.
close it. Oh, I think I got too much chicken.
No, it's fine.
Ujú.
Very
And
good.
then,
Ahora esta.
and then like this.
Uh-huh.
Así.
Ah. Okay.
Perfect.
And then
Fold it.
Ujú.
fold it. Okay.
See?
The
It's
expert
not-
guy here.
Bien.
You can do this too. I hope you're doing this at home. You know what? We put questions in the chat room. If you have any questions, we'd like to hear about your progress.
Let us start putting the tamales. We have a plate. So let's have Angelita make another one and do it a little bit in slow motion as an example. A ver, Angelita,
Okay.
haz uno como que en cámara lenta. Sí, bien lento. So you guys can see once again.
So,
Husk,
yeah.
masa. And of course, for the masa, we could say, you know, get with your hand, but I don't know if you guys have humongous hands or
Exactly.
tiny little hands because it depends on many factors. But that's why visually, and
Yours
Becky will
is
share a
thinner.
document with you with photos. So in case you forgot, you can go to that document and you can see
Mhm.
visually more or less how much.
She has more than I did, and she's also thinner
Mhm.
a little bit.
But
than
when
I
you
was.
compare the two tamales, we don't even know which one is yours and
Exactly.
which one is hers. The idea is for them to look like this,
Mhm.
may have a little more chicken, may have a little less, but it's still okay.
Okay.
Okay, so now Becky, we're gonna let you do another one, slow motion as well.
Yes, mine will be slow motion.
Becky va a hacer
There's no
algo
worry about
rápido.
that.
No rápido. So what I was telling you about the many different tamales, there's one that we want to do soon because we plan to do like a beach party
Mhm.
at Cuchara. We do it every year, and this
You're
year we
watching
want
me,
to
right?
do. The beach party will be devoted to the state of Nayarit, where Punta de Mita and Sayulita and all those trendy places are.
Ujú.
And there, the tamal that's super famous from there is called tamal barbon, like a bearded tamal.
Really?
And the reason why it's called bearded tamal is because inside it has a gigantic shrimp, and all that sticks out are the antennas, but they call it beard. Like you know how they have those.
I think I put too
Mhm.
much.
Let's see. ¿Está muy grande o está bien?
Is it
No,
okay?
está bien.
It's okay.
It's okay. Okay, now.
Exactly. Start rolling from the opposite side.
Okay. I'm hung up on those shrimp thingies hanging out.
I know,
Ugh.
but it's so good. You will see. Perfect.
There.
So now let's do, I'm gonna have Angelita make one. let's say your husks are very small. For
Oh.
whatever reason, you
Yeah.
just get little ones,
Uh-huh.
because that happens when you go buy them. Sometimes you get broken ones or whatever. So let's say this is all you have, like an ugly little thing like this, and then a semi-decent one. She's gonna show you how to use them together.
Oh,
Como si no tuvieran hojas
Ujú.
buenas, hazles uno con las hojas rotas.
Porque de este está muy chiquito, no
Ujú.
alcanza.
uh-huh.
Entonces le pone este.
Kind of
Así?
overlap them.
Yeah, you kind of relap them and then you can make it, because sometimes when you buy the husks, we get
Así?
restaurant quality ones, and we are a
Mhm.
good, client for this company, so they send us good ones. But on purpose, we always add little ones, because that might be all you find in the supermarket.
Right.
And that way you don't have to do tiny little skinny tamales. You know how to overlap them and you can make little
Right.
ones.
Can you talk?
Gracias,
Oh,
igual.
sorry, go on.
Ujú.
Yeah.
Así.
Okay.
Y esto
Ah.
acá,
Overlapping.
y esto acá. Ay. Se rompió. Pero no.
Aha.
Es así. Ah, pero se rompió. Mira, es-
Okay, so that one had a very
Está muy
difficult
delgada, ¿no?
technical problem. Okay, so then let's do
If you have
Another-
to change to,
another example. So let's say that piece broke and you also have just a smaller piece and the sizes don't match. It's okay, you can remove the one that broke, dispose it, and add a new one. You don't have to restart the whole process and get all
Oh.
frustrated or throw it away. That's the benefit of these kind of husks. Totally different if you were doing a tamal with a banana leaf. If it breaks, you have to totally
you have
change
to
it.
start over.
Yeah.
Ya. Ya
So
quedó.
see, we always like to do one that is like a mistake kind of tamal, but at the end, it's fine. And I don't know, when you guys have eaten tamales, you notice that sometimes you open one and it's like one beautiful husk. And sometimes you open and it's like one piece and another piece and another piece. That's why. The little pieces you can dry, they curl naturally and they look beautiful as an ornament, or like embellish your tamales plate or something. You don't have to get rid of them if you don't want to, but when you let them dry, just make sure you clean them really well. If you want to, once they're dry, super dry, like stiff, you can blend them, make powder and use it to embellish dishes.
Oh,
You can eat them once they're dry.
oh,
Mhm.
for heaven's sakes.
The little powder is common.
Okay.
Mhm. So we're gonna let you do another one, Becky. And meanwhile, I can tell you a little bit about the tradition of having tamales in parties.
Ese está chiquito.
Oh, she wants you to use another one because
Oh.
that's too small.
Or-
Or do the
Or
double thing
overlap it.
so that you can practice that.
Okay.
So many of the holidays or feasts, parties that call for tamales in Mexico are basically because of the making of the tamales, not so much, oh, let's eat tamales. It is the companionship and the activity of the family making them. If you make them for a wedding, that maybe the two mothers-in-law can get together and get to know each other
Mhm.
making tamales. It's an activity for a family. ¿Cómo lo ves, Angelita?
Is it okay?
Tiene mucha masa.
It has a lot of masa.
Oh, okay. Spread it too much.
Ujú.
Okay.
Tiene que extenderlo más.
Okay. Thank you.
Así.
It's the magic touch.
I know,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Es mucha. Porque como la masa tiene royal, se hace muy, se esponja cuando se cocina.
Yeah, she
Y
says
queda muy
because the
grande.
masa has the baking powder a little bit,
Okay.
if you can do a lot of masa if you want, but then because it's gonna get inflated, what
Get
will happen
very-
is it will come out from the side.
Oh, okay.
Ujú.
Very nice. So now roll it from the opposite side.
Over this way?
Uh-huh.
Leave that open?
Ajá.
Oh, okay.
Así. Y ya nada más le hace así.
Very good. Thank
Y
you.
ya se le pone así y ya quedó.
Yay.
So see, this is like the international language, I guess, of making tamales. You know, Angelita speaks little English. Becky speaks a little Spanish that she mixes with Italian at some point.
At some point, yeah.
But it's just this activity. I mean, you can do it for groups of friends, for family. My grandma used to make a lot of different tamales for us. And the times I treasure the most probably with her are those when I was helping her in the kitchen. And with tamales, what could go wrong? You make it ugly, you make it too thin, you make it too thick. A good cook will get upset if you add too much sugar, if you add too much salt, if you let it burn. And then the experience is not going to be a fun one. But to make tamales, what's the worst that could happen? A child makes one and it's ugly. The mom makes one and it's too full. There's not a proper argument over making tamales. Even the strictest of cooks will allow their kids or their sister-in-law or their daughter-in-law to help them because it's a fun activity. Usually people play music, they get a little drink. If you make a lot of tamales, what we gave you is more or less for 2 dozen, which anyone can do at any given time. But imagine if you had a party and you had 100 guests, and there you are with your husband and your sister-in-law and your 2 kids, and everyone is making tamales at the same time, and everyone is laughing. Mom, look at this one, it's so ugly. Oh my God, look at this one, it's too full. It's an activity, it's a social activity. So for us, it's not so much the tradition of eating tamales because the party calls for the recipe of tamales, it's just Day of the Dead. People show respect making tamales for people
And you
that
remember.
die. It's so hands-on, it's so proper to infuse your sentiments versus making a soup with a spoon and it's boiling, serve it. This is touch. This is a human hand, the human heart, the laugh that you know, you're talking and you're laughing or you're crying, something. It goes into the tamales. The tradition we have, and my dad, for example, would go to the same woman every day to get a tamal for breakfast. And sometimes he gets home and he's like, no, she didn't do them. Maria was not the one. They're not salty enough. And yes, it's true. You can taste someone's, seasoning or flavor in the tamales. It sounds like for water, what's the movie in English? Like water for chocolate. But it is true. It is true. You can taste if someone was happy, if someone was mad, if someone wanted you to be, upset. This is probably one of the foods in the world that totally infuses your personal moment when you're making them into the dish.
I think that you remember the stories. You remember the stories from your mama.
¿Tú te acuerdas las historias que te contaba tu mamá cuando hacían tamales? Cuando tú a tus hijas les cuentas.
Yeah.
It is a
It's a way of
family
remembering.
moment. Yeah. And even for us in the restaurant, which we're always running like crazy, and our kitchen is really small. So most times it's like the 3 of us preparing at the same time because we have a lot of space. The time to make tamales is when everyone is gossiping, laughing, they turn the music on, louder. Maybe the dishwasher has finished and he's like, well, let me make one. And he washes the hands and everyone wants to participate because it's that moment of relaxation.
Right.
You're not gonna burn them. You're not gonna do anything. It's already prepared. You just really have to assemble them. And while you do, you enjoy. You have fun, you laugh, which is why most important parties in Mexico call for tamales. So we'll see if any of you want to show us with your camera how your tamales look. Angelita, in her all honesty, will judge and we'll tell you something.
We have a cool question.
Sure.
Somebody said this might be unorthodox, but we have some Indian food and we were wanting to put it in tamales. Why not?
You know what? They just opened a restaurant in Mexico City, which I'm dying to try. I haven't been. And every time I go to Mexico City, I have to visit new places, but I also want to go to the places I love. But this place has been on my mind, and it's called Maíz y Masala, corn and masala. And it's a mix. It's a blend of Indian food with Mexican.
Because some of the
Who knows?
spices are similar,
Correct.
Cumin, chilies.
We have a lot of Indian clients that come to Cuchara, and the way they started coming, which was really funny, is during the last hurricane, I don't remember which one, but I was out of town. We were able to open. We were able to stay open until the very last minute, and we were able to open really quickly. I think we just closed for a day and a half. And this poor Indian guy was stranded in Houston, and he went to the embassy, to the consulate, and he asked them, where can I go to eat? And they said, well, everything's closed. Yet the police officer, the guard said, well, I know a restaurant and it's open. Because that guy is Mexican, the officer they keep in the consulate. So refer the Indian guy to Cuchara, he went there, he loved it. And ever since we get a lot of people, because he went back to the consulate, that's fantastic, it's spicy, it's fresh, it's this, it's that. We have so many similarities with Indian food.
Yeah.
So Indian food is traditionally spicy, which like us, it's traditionally fresh, like us. They don't do anything frozen, preserved, just like we do.
Right.
And while the spices are a little different, it's the, I guess, overuse of spices in many dishes that make the dish, like moles and curries or masala and certain lighter moles. So why not?
Yeah.
Why not? And if you have time, go to Cuchara, drop one, so Angelita can try it. And
Yeah.
she'll be like, oh my God. Es que hay alguien preguntando si
Send
le
us a
pueden poner
picture.
algo de comida india en su tamal. Claro que sí.
Yeah.
Prueben. Yeah, try it.
Sí.
Why not?
I have a question about the masa. Suppose, so what you gave in the bags was enough to make 2 dozen. So suppose that I'm busy this afternoon and I can't make all 2 dozen. How long can you refrigerate this and bring it to room temperature?
You
Or
can.
how
Well,
long
si
is
le
it?
sobra masa, ¿cómo la guardan? Angelita is getting sleepy.
Tengo sueño.
Well, she
Vamos a las
started working
5.
at 5 a.m.
No.
Entramos a las 5 hoy. Sí se puede guardar en una bolsa.
You can put it in a plastic bag
Ajá, y la meten al refri.
in the refrigerator.
Y le dura como por 5 días nada más.
About 5 days.
Okay.
Y ya en 5 días la vuelven a amasar con poquita agua caliente. Y
You
para
put
que
a
quede suave.
tiny little bit of hot water
Ujú.
and you bring it back to life.
Y ya la vuelven a hacer los tamales.
And then you can make tamales
Okay.
as nothing ever happened.
Because it is, the texture now, there is a lot of oil in it, just so that it holds, holds together.
Yeah.
So you expect it to be like this, but
Yes.
then, okay, great.
Yeah, when you refrigerate it, you will see. When you take it out, you have to let it be at room temperature
Okay.
before you start moving it. And then when you add the water, it comes back to life.
Okay.
But no more than 5 days. Because
Okay.
it's fresh, we don't add anything to it. So you have to use it. And sadly, I just got rid of a little bit of masa that I bought in a market, and I wanted to keep it to show you guys, but it didn't look very good, so I threw it away. But you could, if you have a vacuum sealer, like an airtight sealer, you could do that too. And then it stays really good as well. But plastic bag works.
Okay.
Any questions regarding the manufacturing part of the tamales? Anyone that has any, I don't know, malfunction or wanting to?
Oh. The people that are making Indian tamales are making.
Oh my God.
let's see,
Indian
palak, oh
tamales.
my God, palak paneer, my favorite Indian dish. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Palak paneer, chicken, butter chicken.
Okay,
Chicken and dal stew. We'll report back.
okay, perfect. We want images.
Yes, images are the
We
important
want
thing,
images.
especially this palak paneer. Oh,
I know,
that's
I
my
know,
favorite
that sounds
thing.
good. Corn
Yeah.
goes with everything, really.
Food is an international language. That's all there is to
It is. And corn is such a noble thing for your body. In Mexico, we eat a lot of tortillas and we are healthy. I would dare to say now, sadly, there's a lot of obesity in Mexico. It's getting into a problem, but in my grandmother's times and whatnot, people ate 6, 7, 8 tortillas a day and no one was morbidly obese or anything. It's other stuff that is really harmful. Corn is good. Corn cookies, corn tortillas, as long as you don't add any flour, they're gluten-free clearly. And you can eat as much as you want. I mean, it's one of those miracle foods.
John's showing his.
Oh,
There,
show us.
right here.
Oh.
Right here.
Oh, look at
Oh,
that.
nice. They look really good.
That's
Very nice.
fantastic.
And there's someone else showing already also.
Here.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wonderful.
Very good.
We're
Oh,
working
this
on,
is so exciting.
Oh, look,
we
those
have,
are wonderful.
we have a question over here. That
Fantastic.
we may have been
Oh, this is so fun to see.
Hold on, there's a question. Hold on. Go ahead.
I think we've been using a lot of chicken. We're gonna have lots of pollo in our tamales. But if we do vegetables, if we want to finish off our masa using vegetables, do we need to pre-cook the vegetables? Can we just slice and put fresh veggies in there?
If they want to use vegetables to finish off the masa, do they have to pre-cook the vegetables?
It depends on which vegetable. One of my favorite tamales is Mexican squash, but it has to be cooked. If you don't cook it before you put in the tamal, it releases a lot of liquid and the tamal is like a mess. You would have to pre-cook them. ¿Qué verduras podrán usar para su masa hacer un tamal, pero que la pongan cruda y se cueza con la masa?
No, puede ser la papa.
You can do potato. Potato
Potato.
can be raw and it cooks along with the masa.
Y la calabaza.
Or the squash, like the regular, not the calabacita squash, but the US squash, pimientos, bell peppers, poblano.
So what about
Poblano pepper, just make sure you peel it and slice it. What
do you
about
have
corn? Becky was
pepper, or
asking.
can you do the pepper raw?
There are several recipes of tamales in Mexico that are just corn. Most of them are sweet.
I was just wondering
Yeah.
also about the sweet tamales.
Uh-huh.
What is the ingredient for sweet tamales if it's not corn?
Well, no, it is corn.
Oh,
It
it
is
is
corn,
corn. Okay.
and it is white corn or pink corn or any
Yeah.
corn basically can work for sweet tamales. But for sweet tamales, you don't do the lard. Para tamales dulces, ¿qué le ponen? ¿Aceite?
No, se le pone, si quieren, se le pone mantequilla en lugar de manteca o manteca. Pero
Ok.
no se le pone depende de los tamales si quieren. Si van a hacer de piña,
Ajá.
van a licuar piña para que la masa sepa piña.
Okay, so this is, let's start from the beginning. For example, if you want to make sweet tamales, instead of lard, you usually do butter or an oil. Angelita was saying you can do butter or you can do lard, but it's a totally different flavor, which might be a bit more experienced palates because lard is basically pork. So you would have to be very accurate in how you prepare the sweet one. So I'm gonna focus on the ones with butter. Vamos a enfocarnos en los de mantequilla que son más comunes. So you would substitute this for butter. You don't add the chicken broth. ¿Le ponen agua o qué le ponen en lugar del caldo de pollo? So yeah, you put water. That's where you get creative. You can do water with anise stars. You can boil it so it gets a little bit of flavor. You can do water with a little bit of vanilla. Angelita was saying, for example, if you want to do pineapple tamales, she would blend pineapple with water and use it instead of just putting a stuffing, the pineapple inside. We make so many different masas that have an extra flavor in the masa. So what she was saying about the pineapple is really amazing. You should try that one. It has to be fresh pineapple. It cannot be pineapple from the can. It has to be fresh. Just the amount of water you're gonna use, blend the pineapple with water and put it in, and you'll see it's gonna have tiny little pieces. You don't have to strain it. And it's gonna give it a texture that you may choose not to even put extra pineapple inside. We've done sweet tamales, for example, with blackberries.
Oh, wow.
Like she was saying, she puts them in the blender with a little bit of water. And then instead of just putting berries, we put berries and cream cheese inside.
Oh my God.
So for sweet tamales, you can be really creative and do a lot of different stuff. That's a whole other class. But the traditional sweet tamales that probably everyone has seen are the pink ones.
That's the ones I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about the pink ones. The pink ones, the good ones in Mexico come from pink corn.
It's a corn that grows in the vicinity of Mexico City, and it's pink in color naturally. When you get those cobs, they usually shave them and dry them, and the corn becomes like, it looks yellowish, but with a little bit of like red spots. Once you process it to make your masa, it becomes pink, and it's a really light pink. Those of you that have seen the iPhone, the pink one, more or less that color. It's a very light color of pink. It's not bright pink or rosa mexicano. It is a really mellow pink, and that's the original pink tamal, because that corn is sweet by itself. The only thing added are raisins. We don't add sugar to that. It's sweet naturally, and it has raisins, and that's it. It's not overly sweet. Then we move on to the ones you see in the bakeries and places. That is nothing, my friends, but colorant. And that's why we don't like them. It is colorant, and that's why they're bright pink or super almost red, or it is just a tradition. And in Mexico City, the bakeries that sell pink tamales, there's always like a competition to see how less bright they are, which means more quality of the pink corn is never, they never add colorant. So at Cuchara, we make pink tamales when we can find the pink masa or the pink powder in Mexico, and we bring it, and then we make pink tamales.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but we never do pink tamales if we have to use colorant, unless we have a catering and the person is, I want pink tamales, and we explain, okay, we're gonna make them pink, but they're not gonna be the original pink tamales, they're gonna be sweet tamales with colorant, so they're pink. But it's a big difference, and I wish at some point all of you in the class could come to Cuchara to try the original pink tamales. You will be blown away. And the flavor is just so subtle. It's sweet but subtle. It's not overly sweet. It doesn't have any added sugar, so it's a very unique combination of flavors with the raisins.
So you're doing this at Christmas, right?
If we can get it, yes. Usually when we get that masa is for February 2nd, for Candlemas.
Oh, perfect for Candlemas.
That is one of the traditional flavors that we always prepare for Candlemas.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll be there.
Yes. Another super fun flavor we do for Candlemas, and I made a little list so I don't forget. There's my dad's hometown is in a state called San Luis Potosí. In his region, there's a tamal called zacahuil with a Z, zacahuil. That tamal is crazy, and if you guys Google it, you will see it's usually a humongous thing like this. They put a whole chicken inside, and they put the masa on top, and it's banana leaves, and they cover them, and they put them in these gigantic ovens. That tamal, because of the big size and the ingredients, it never gets hard like these ones. Never. Even after it's cooked, when you open those leaves, you have to get like a ladle or a spoon to scoop it out and serve it. And it's always kind of grainy and liquidy. It is probably my favorite tamal in the world. And we've done it at Cuchara. So every time we do zacahuil, it's a big production. We bring it out in our tequila cart, which doubles as a zacahuil cart. We bring it out of the kitchen, we open it so people can see, and then we have to scoop it and serve it. And it is amazing. So that's another thing that we really like. Central Market wanted us to do a class for zacahuil, but they really didn't have even like the proper oven to bake it. So it just stayed in talks. But that is one of the tamales that we are so proud to be having. There's a tamal called mukbil from Yucatan, which is also amazing. The one I was mentioning that you have to bury to be cooked. We've never done it at Cuchara because we don't have the means to bury it and we want to be authentic, but we brought it already cooked from Merida. And it's very specific dinners for like 10 or 12 people tops because it's a nuisance. And usually the consulate helps us bring the whole thing because it's, it's a big production, but that is one of the amazing tamales. From Michoacán, we have corundas, uchepos. The uchepos, the corundas are like a kind of like a hexagon. It looks like a weird ball. And the uchepos are cooked, and those we've made at Cuchara because I have, and I will confess, brought those fresh leaves in my suitcase, praying to every God, I know. But it's fresh leaves. Instead of the dry husks like this, it's fresh. They have to be green and they have to be perfumey, and that's what you use for the uchepos. So when you fold them and you cook them, the leaf is basically cooking with the tamal, which is why they're incredible. And they're usually on the sweeter side. We've made tamales from Chiapas, from Oaxaca, from the coastal regions, which are the ones that come in banana leaves. We've done tuna tamales, which are kind of like traditional in the Baja Peninsula. ¿Qué más tamales hemos hecho? De mil cosas.
Hay de mucho, de chocolate.
Oh yeah, chocolate tamales. Oh,
of
chocolate
course.
tamales. Chocolate tamales, she makes the best because she mixes the chocolate with the masa. So the tamal itself is chocolate, so you don't have to stuff it with anything. It is really good.
And when are you doing this?
¿Cuándo vas a hacer tamales de chocolate?
You have to put us on a mailing
Yeah.
list for the chocolate.
We'll do a mailing
tamales.
list called tamales and add all of you. ¿Cuándo vas a hacer de chocolate?
Cuando quieras, ¿sabes?
She's like, I'll make them whenever you want. So we'll leave it up to
Okay.
Becky. When's your birthday?
Oh, August.
Okay, we'll do tamales instead of cake.
Oh,
Chocolate tamales
that
instead
would
of
be
a birthday
fabulous.
cake.
My whole
Yes,
family
yes.
is August. We have some questions.
Sure.
Okay. One of them is a comment.
Okay.
She says, she drops some masa on the floor and her dog is about to attack her for more.
Well, of course.
Of course, this dog is a sensible dog. And then it says, the internet says you can steam them in an Instant Pot for 25 minutes on high. Have you ever tried that?
No, we've never
No.
used that. No,
Okay.
we always do it the traditional way, which is what we're gonna start showing you with the steamer. My aunt Laura, who is a lazy cook, and a few things she cooks are really good, but she uses a microwave all the time. She's made tamales and she's put them in the microwave. I don't know how she does it. I don't think they taste good, but you could investigate. We prefer the traditional way.
No
with the
shortcuts here.
steamer. Yeah.
There's one more question about the
Oh.
lard.
About the lard.
Yeah, if you scroll down, it's at the end.
Okay, somebody wants to know, we already have somebody who wants to be on the pink tamale list.
Okay. Someone could go with me to Mexico City and help me track the masa because it's really hard to
This one is
find.
weird.
Miss
Oh.
much lard.
How much lard and how much broth? 32 ounces each, right?
Yes, equal amounts. Clearly, you will increment if you make more tamales. Remember, in cooking, the increments are not always mathematical. You have to more or less
Feel it.
feel it. Yes.
Yeah.
But we, in many cases, when we do this class, people end up with extra chicken. We always give you a lot of chicken because we'd rather have you buy ingredients and make more and have extra chicken than not giving you enough. But you could survive if you were throwing a party and you don't want to make your tamales like so full. You could do probably 3 parts of this. I mean, 3 parts of 4 for the stuffing. For example, if you do pork, we put less. We put less because pork is more like an intrusive flavor to the tamal, so we don't put so much.
Mhm.
If we were to teach a class with pork, we would have given you probably half of this. It depends on the stuffing, but the increments should always be the same for lard and either juice or water with anise stars, whatever you use. The liquid should always match the lard or the butter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You gave me the recipe, which I sent out to everybody.
Okay.
Hopefully it came to you this morning. So you have the sheet, which shows pictures and instructions, and then you have the recipe also with the proportions and
Correct.
the ingredients.
Mhm.
So,
And you have to play with this because the recipe that we use at the restaurant is this one, the amounts. But you have to play because maybe you want your tamales to be really dry because you will explore at some point taking off the husk and deep frying them, which is what they do in the Guadalupe shrine in Mexico City. It's called tamales encuerados. They have to be thick and they have to be strong and they have to be dry because they take them out of the husk and they deep fry them. And then you eat them like that. And if you're crazy, you eat them with the sandwich that I mentioned.
Oh,
with a
wow.
bolillo bread, the deep fried tamal, and then the cover.
Covered.
So they have to be a different texture. Otherwise, when you put them in the oil, they're gonna get dissolved. Or maybe you have your grandmother doesn't have a lot of teeth, or she's on a sensible diet, so you want them to be liquidy. That's when you play with the ingredients and you develop your own, I guess, style, recipe, or preference.
We have another question. Can I freeze the leftover husks?
No. No, ¿verdad que no se deben congelar las hojas?
Sí.
¿Sí pueden? Oh, but never mind. The expert says yes. I've never frozen them, but she says yes. ¿Cómo
Sí.
las congelan?
Cuando se ponen a remojar y sobran, se escurren y se ponen en una bolsa y se congelan y luego ya se vuelven a usar.
Okay, so after you rinse them, you let them dry and then you put them in a bag, you put it in the freezer, and then when you bring it out, they should be ready to, I guess, don't throw them. Que no las metan al micro ni nada. Que sí.
No, solitas. Cuando ya las van a usar, solo se sacan, solitas se descongelan.
Okay, yeah, so let them thaw by themselves. Don't try to do anything crazy. Well, this is new for me. I would have never said you can. Any other questions regarding masa, regarding cost?
So, I guess next step.
Next step. So, your steamer.
Oh, show what the inside looks like. Yes.
So those of you that bought a steamer from us, or you already had it at home, or whatever, you know that this is removable. So the water you put right to the line of the steamer. So you don't want to overdo the water because then it'll be splashing all over. When you put this lid, you should not be able to see the water. Okay?
Just below the,
Mhm.
okay.
And then when you start putting your tamales, I'm gonna let Angelita do it because there are many tricks. A ver, Angelita, acomódalos para que vean cómo. So notice they have to be standing up.
Okay, we'll get
We
the
probably
camera
move
up
the
here.
camera so that you guys can see. One of the images we saw from the Zoom, someone already had them standing up, which is perfect. Let's say your steamer is
Deben
too
de ir
big.
así y con esto hacia acá. Porque si lo ponen así, cuando empiezan a hervir se van a hacer.
Okay, so notice like the little
Pones
tiny
esto.
flap has to be facing back
Ujú,
always. Don't ever
Ujú.
make it point to the
Así.
center of the pot.
Todos, ya depende de la cantidad que hagan, pues van a llenarlo todo.
So it
Pero-
depends on the amount you're making, you're gonna hopefully fill the whole thing.
Primero le ponen el agua
Yeah, you put the water first.
y luego ya poner los tamales. Así
Then you
todo
put the
lleno así,
tamales.
y ya los tapan con su tapa o con papel de aluminio, si no tienen tapa.
Once you fill it, you put the lid. If you don't have a lid, you could put foil. But let me show you a trick in case you make tamales and you have empty spaces. ¿Qué pasa si tienen espacio vacío? ¿Qué le
Sí.
pueden poner para que?
Pues le pueden poner de la misma hoja o con papel aluminio, ponerle para que cuando hierva, estos no se
No se
derramen,
volteen.
no se volteen.
So if you have spaces left and you have husks left, you can kind of fill the spaces.
Ujú.
Or you can do foil. Just get foil, crumble it, and put it so that the tamales
Para
are never
detener.
tilted.
Okay.
Because it's happened before that you go, oh, there's a little space, it's fine. Well, that little space, once the thing is steaming, will create chaos. One of the tamales will fall, so then the one behind it will fall, and then you end up with tamal.
Y no lo-
Everywhere.
Eso lo tienen que usar así, si lo llenan todo, solo es lleno esto. Si sobran arriba no pueden poner.
Ah, okay. Another
Como
common mistake
así.
that Angelita wants to point.
Como así, no, porque no se cocen.
If you have
Y no
way
se
more
van a
tamales
cocer.
than the size of your steamer, you will do 2 batches. We're sorry. You cannot do 2 layers,
Ujú.
which people have done before. And then they go, well, the top layer didn't cook. We're like, "Well, why did you do 2 layers? So she always mentions that because it has to be just 1 layer. You cannot do double layer.
Okay.
Ok. Y ya cuando empiezan a soltar el hervor, que están hirviendo, se le va a bajar. Mínimo son 2 horas.
Okay.
cocimiento.
It's a minimum of 2 hours cooking for this more or less size of steamer. When it starts boiling, when you see or you hear the water boiling, then you have to lower your settings. And again, it depends if your stove is electric, it has gas, convection, those like with magnets, you know, there are so many different possibilities, which is why she always points. Once it's boiling, you're gonna hear it, you're gonna smell it, you're gonna see the steam, then lower it. Because the worst that could happen is that instead of 2 hours, it takes 3, but you're not gonna burn that. If you run out of water, you have to add water continuously. It can never be dry.
Sí, ya como en una hora le checan si tiene agua, si no le ponen otra poquita.
Yeah, in about an hour,
Si no
you
se
check.
quema.
You can take one out and make sure there's water. You can stick like a knife or a skewer or something. And if it's dry, just add water so that you can continue to steam. It's very important that it's always steaming. If you start smelling weird stuff, that means it's not steaming and it's burning.
Ooh.
And the husks, even though they don't smell bad, the smell is not what you want. You want a beautiful smell, you know, steaming, and not like, oh, it's like burnt, you know, like corn from the road. No.
Yeah.
Now let's show people, in case someone out there doesn't have a steamer. We're gonna show them. Vamos a enseñarles si no tienen una vaporizadora, pero tienen la pura olla. Let's say you just have a pot. You don't have a steamer, you don't own it, you just have a pot. No problem. You can do, for example, take a couple of spoons or a couple of forks or whatever, put them in the bottom, and then put a plate.
Oh, okay.
You know, as long as the plate is kind of floating up, because then you have space for your water. The steam comes from the sides when you don't have a steamer. With this one, it comes from everywhere.
Right.
But if you don't have a steamer, don't stress, just put lots of spoons and then put a plate and the steam will come from the sides. It may take a little longer, but it works equally normal. Because a lot of people don't want to get a steamer. Just how many times a year are you gonna make tamales?
Except this has a lot of uses too.
Correct. But we
That's
have a lot of,
great
you
steamer.
know, we did like the young professionals for the Houston Grand Opera, and the 6 or 7 guys said, I don't want to buy a steamer. What are they going to do with a steamer? So we said, okay, just get a pot, whatever you have at home will teach you. And you know, it works really well. So
Yeah.
that's one of the benefits and one of the things, to be resourceful and to don't be that eager to consume things that you don't need. You don't have to get a steamer. It's good if you do, but you don't have to.
We have another question who said, if you want to freeze tamales, do you freeze them before steaming or after steaming?
After. Si quieren congelar los tamales, los tienen que cocer primero, ¿cierto?
No, se pueden congelar.
Oh, never mind. Once again, I'm wrong. You can freeze them when they're raw,
Okay.
and then you will let them be room temperature before you steam them.
Sí, se pueden congelar
Okay.
crudos y luego ya para cocerlos los sacan un día antes que ya estén bien descongelados y ya los cocen.
You take them out the day before, and once they're not frozen, then you can steam them. So yeah, you can freeze them raw. Pero los pueden congelar también cocidos.
Sí, también.
And you can
igual.
also freeze them when they're cooked.
Oh,
Igual de las dos maneras se pueden congelar, crudos o cocidos.
Okay. Raw or cooked.
and here somebody's asking, if we're doing 2 batches, we do one at night for 2 hours and need to do the other the next morning, do we steam the tamales straight out of the refrigerator or let them come to room temperature first?
Si van a cocinar, los van a preparar todos hoy, pero solo van a cocinar la mitad y la mitad mañana. ¿Los meten al refri nada más?
Sí, más antes.
Yeah, just in the refrigerator. You don't have to freeze them or do anything. And then from the fridge, you can steam them.
Okay. You know, I'm wondering, suppose I wanted to keep them for a couple of days. Suppose I'm having a party and then I cook them ahead of time or cook them on the day of, or.
It's totally up to you.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
totally up to you. If the day of you don't want your house to smell like tamales, maybe cook them before. If you want for people to be like, oh my God, it smells so good here, what happened? You cook them the day of. For many families, they cook them the day off because it's part of the tradition. But for example, for a wedding, if the two mothers-in-law are going to get together to cook, I don't think they want to be smelling like tamales when they don't get their nails or their hair done. So it depends on your goal for the tamales for the people you're inviting. But they're fine if you cook them before. Many tamales actually get a little bit more of a flavor. I love to eat my tamales like the day after they were cooked, even cold.
Yeah.
It's just
They're good
personal
anytime.
preference. They
Yeah,
are
this is fantastic.
personal preference.
What we have here are some that are finished, right?
Yes, Angelita brought some already prepared. They're cold.
So you can see what they look like.
Ábreles uno para que vean. So she's opening one. They're cold. So it's fairly easy to open them and to remove them from the husk.
Oh, look at that.
See, the size and the shape
Mm-hmm.
is more or less perfect.
Mm-hmm.
This is the,
You made these.
this is the size that we prefer, what I was telling you about in Mexico City. So they're a little bigger than the traditional northern ones, which are probably half of this. For the
Yes.
restaurant, we don't make them long, but there are places in Mexico City that take pride of making them this, you know, more or less as thick as these ones, or maybe a little more, but make them long because you can share one.
Oh,
You know, if they sell two per order, you can be like, well, give me a red one and give me a green one, and you can share with someone because they're big.
Mhm.
But this is the size we prefer, and this is the size we do at the restaurant. That's another question.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up with my questions. Do you need to cover the pot when steaming?
Yes.
Just so that you keep that,
The
well, first
steam.
of all, you keep the steam and then all
Correct.
that water in there
Yes.
too, yeah.
And also, if you open it, the steam will never cook the inside of the tamal.
Of course.
You have to keep it,
Okay.
and which is why she was saying if you don't have a lid, you can do foil, but they have to be cooked.
Mhm.
For example, at the
Okay.
restaurant, they put foil because we have these humongous things and the lids would be super heavy and
Mhm.
awkward to lift. So they put foil, and then just to check them, they pinch a little bit of the foil, and then they kind of like put it together again.
Okay,
It has to be covered.
okay. Does anybody else have any questions? I am still thinking about this chocolate tamales.
That is, yeah, they're addictive.
Yeah.
They're good. They're good. You're gonna try them. When we got a visitor from Mexico City, one of our favorite restaurants there is called Nico's. It's a restaurant that, just like ours, has a lot of females in the kitchen, except that that's owned by a chef. His name is Gerardo Vasquez, and he is my favorite chef, and he's become a good friend. And the reason why he's my favorite is because he does not change the recipes. He has never done anything into a mousse or a gel or a foam. It's what it is, and his food is amazing. He makes a chocolate tamal, and when he came to visit us, he's been here like 3 times, but the last dinner, he made a chocolate tamal, but it was a dark chocolate from Tabasco, bitter.
Wow.
And then he made these like berries, kind of with sugar and some fresh cream. Oh my God, that was so good. It was one of the best desserts for me. And it's a simple one. It's just the quality of the chocolate he chose from
Terrific
Tabasco.
ingredients.
And yeah, and the corn. Really good. Hopefully he'll visit this year. He was supposed to come last year, but last year is a dead year for everyone.
Yes.
So hopefully this year he'll come, and then try to book a dinner with him when we do at Cuchara, because it's an experience. He loves our kitchen. He always does social media about us. He just loves our food, and to me it's one of my biggest moments of pride when he, being in Mexico City, being my favorite restaurant since I'm a little girl, knew about us, and he actually wanted to come and pop up here. I almost crashed the car when they called me. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like a prankster, some friend of mine in Mexico. I know Gerardo Vasquez wants to come visit you. I'm like, ah. So it was pretty good. He's come as a chef twice and as Nico's once. So it's been really nice. And we've been to his restaurant in Mexico just to collaborate and whatnot.
That's terrific. Well, we're talking about working with you again around Christmas time, and this time we'll do it in person.
Yes.
But we will still have remote available for people who live outside of Houston. But
Correct.
maybe if we do this at Christmas, we'll do a chocolate tomorrow. Or
Okay. Yeah,
a
of course.
sweet.
Of
one
course.
tomorrow.
We can do a longer class. Once you are doing it live at the restaurant, it's fun because we get a drink,
There
we
you
can have
go.
some live music,
Yeah.
and there's a class we taught which includes this tamal, and then it includes one, for example, with poblano peppers or poblano peppers. Oh, we have a visitor. Poblano peppers and cheese, for example, and then a costeño tamal with the banana leaf, and then a sweet tamal. We can do the 4 different ones, and it's a longer
That'd be
class, but
fun.
it's a lot of fun if you do it live,
Exactly.
because there are drinks and there are talks, and then we make a champurrado, which is a masa drink, and we may spice it up with a little tequila, and then people's skills for tamales are like flourish. It's a lot of fun.
Let's see, we have, oh, can you speak to how to cover the husks before steaming?
How to cover the
How
house?
to cover the husks before steaming. Oh, and also these two questions tie together. Would you please go over how to use the foil or the husks when you have space left in the steamer?
Sure, you just have to get foil and make a bowl. Just make different shapes. The whole idea here is that the tamales always stand up. They have to stand up. If you see your tamales are starting to fall to the side, you need to put something here. They have to stand up, which is why you use foil in order to keep them standing. Let's say, you know what? I have a perfect thing to use as an example. In my not super well put together home, there should be a little something. What is that thing? I wanted to show you with a little pot, but I guess my housekeeper, I don't know what she did with it. Let's see. This is not exactly what I was looking for, but it's a fondue maker. But let's say, just for the sake of size, let's pretend this is obviously taller, and you put your tamales, and you feel like they're okay. You go, oh, they're okay. No, they're not. The moment you steam them, one is gonna collapse like this.
Yeah.
Which is why in the middle, you would get a foil and just stick it there so that they are
Just to
fair.
brace it up.
Or extra husks, lots of them, so that this doesn't fall. That's the whole purpose, that the tamales, all of them stay high and standing up. And in the steamers, you might have, like someone said, I just want to cook half of them, but you want to use your steamer. So just fill it up with whatever you have at home. A lot of people get extra leaves. If you go to Fiesta supermarkets or places like that, when you get a bag of these, sometimes for like 30 cents more, you get a this big. You know what, get it, because they don't go bad. As now we know, you can freeze them, but you can make your balls so that your steamer is always tight and everything is standing up, or use foil.
Somebody asked, they missed how much masa we were given. I think it was
It's 2.5 pounds.
2.5 pounds. Okay, that came with the kit. Okay.
Any other questions?
Not so far.
Okay. Well, so once you steam your tamales, like Angelita said, it's more or less 2 hours for the amount of tamales that we have. Your stove might be amazing and it could be ready before, or your stove might be old and you are watching a movie and you want them really low. Just keep checking for the water, keep checking, keep checking. The average time on a regular home stove like mine, which is gas, it's 2 hours.
Mm.
It could be a little less, it could be a little more, just keep checking.
Oh, and then I remembered seeing this on the list of ingredients. You included a salsa. What kind of salsa do you like to use?
Well, the list of ingredients was a list we used for Williams Sonoma, and they wanted us to include extra salsa. So the list I sent you is that. I could have probably typed something new and forget about it, but I don't know, we never thought about it until this morning. So it's just green salsa. It's our green salsa tomatillo. It's the salsa we use to cook this chicken. But Williams Sonoma chose to have us send extra because they have a concept of putting salsa on top of the tamal, which is
Is
for
that
us is
a usual thing or no?
no.
No.
But you know, like my dad, the one the tamales I told you he buys, they give him cream and salsa. Sometimes he puts the cream, sometimes he puts the salsa, sometimes he doesn't put anything. I guess it's not a tradition per se, but if you want to add a little salsa, you're welcome to do so.
Okay. You mean at the stalls where they're selling them? The
Where they sell tamales, sometimes they have salsa and people put salsa on the tamal.
Yeah. I wondered. We found a video
Okay.
that we put online of a bicycler peddler, tamales calientitos.
There you go.
Like you were
They
talking
always
about.
yell, they always yell that. And there's in Mexico City, there are certain noises that are,
Typical.
I guess, typical but traded for the city, and so they're allowed and enticed. And one is, and you have to Google this because it's hilarious. It's these people that go on bicycles and they sell tamales oaxaqueños from Oaxaca. The voice is hilarious, and it's a recording because it's the same voice all over. Tamales oaxaqueños.
Yes, that's the
It's-
recording I found.
Crazy, but it's tamales from Oaxaca. So the vendors from Oaxaca come to the city with their tamales,
Yeah.
tamales oaxaqueños, and it's so hilarious. But it's one of the noises that you.
Yeah. Oh, there's a joke about when the Pope came to visit. Somebody's cell phone went off, and their ringer was tamales calientitos.
I don't doubt it because a lot of people have that ringer. And
Yeah,
it's
the whole audience collapsed.
yep.
One more question.
Oh,
Question.
how do you know the tamales are done? Excellent question.
Excellent question. Usually, if you have a pair of tongs, you should take one out. What you do is you basically touch it with a fork, with a spoon, with a stick, with a toothpick. Just touch. And when it comes out clean, you will see. Right now, it comes out not clean. They're raw. But when you're steaming them, they become really watery. So if you stick the spoon and there's water running, they're clearly not done. You have to wait until they are, when you put the stick or the fork, it comes out clean with nothing. That's how you know they're ready. And once they dry, you will see later. They're like this.
Mhm.
It's the easiest way just to stick a fork. Everyone has a fork at home. And sometimes we use like wood sticks, like skewer kind of things, but not everyone has it, so just use a fork.
Or a knife.
Or a knife.
Take the knife. I hope there's some fantastic tamales out there. I see some of you making some things. We're expecting great things from you.
Well, and if anyone is in the neighborhood tomorrow and want to bring a tamal for us to taste, we will always welcome it. Angelita will, I know she doesn't work tomorrow. No trabajas mañana, no. Never mind, but if you want to bring it, we'll save it, put your name, and then on Tuesday, Angelita can
She can
attest.
see the taste.
Yeah, she can.
There's one more question.
Or send some pictures. We'll put them on our website. Or no, Facebook, we'll put them on the Facebook page.
Okay.
Send pictures.
Perfect.
What's the best way to reheat a cooked tamal?
¿Cuál es la mejor forma para que recalienten un tamal? ¿En el micro?
Sí, pero en una bolsa de plástico.
The microwave, but put them in a plastic bag. So it creates kind of like this steaming idea.
No le pongan
Or a
mucho, porque
paper
si se
bag.
calientan en la estufa, se van a resecar mucho. Pero en el micro, si calienta uno, nomás se le ponen 1 minuto y quedan bien.
You can do 1 minute if you're heating one. She says when you do them in the stove, and a lot of people do that, but they become drier. And some people do that on purpose. It depends on the style of tamal, but it's better to do it in the microwave wrapped in a bag.
O también en el comal, en la estufa, lo ponen a calentar así con todo y hoja, así, y se calienta dentro.
Yes. Well, this isn't yet changes the flavor, but it's so good if you just put like a griddle or like a pan and super low fire and just put them with the husk and
Pero
everything.
con todo y la hoja, porque
Yeah,
si no, así
with the
se-
husk and
queda
just forever, just keep moving them, turning them, and at some point they're hot and they're really good, and you'll see the flavor is really good.
You could probably steam them in a paper bag too, no?
No los puede poner con una bolsa de papel, ¿verdad?
Because
En el
plastic
porque
makes
se-
me nervous.
Con-
It's okay?
Yeah, it's okay. If you do paper, it's gonna break it. The
Ah,
paper, you know, with
okay.
the water that releases. Is
Sí
gonna-
lo puede poner, pero el tamal se le va a resecar.
Yeah, the
Okay.
tamal will be really dry.
Okay.
Y en la bolsa no, porque la bolsa lo hace como suave.
The plastic bag will make it.
El plástico.
Nowadays, they have a lot of plastic bags that are for kitchen. It's not like,
Oh, right.
you know, let's go buy the
Yeah.
plastic bags from, they give you
Sí.
free at Kroger.
Right.
It's, there's quality of plastic that you can use.
That you can use for microwaving. Okay.
And one more comment.
Let's see, the best way, well, we have the reheated, is there another one?
Yeah, there should be one right underneath that.
Let's
Just
see.
scroll down.
See it. Maybe just read it from your phone.
If I can find it again. He said, I think he was saying thank you, and he was signing off.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well,
That it was
You're
really good. Let's see.
we hope you enjoy
Here
your
we go.
tamales.
Thank you very
invite someone.
Thank you very much. Ours are steaming now. We need to log off Michael and Beatrice. And then we had, Lane says, can the tamales be steamed very close together and fill the pot? How do I know if I've overfilled the pot?
You will have overfilled the pot if you do 2 layers. The pot can be really full as long as they are standing up, that's fine. You cannot overfill it unless you do a second layer.
And she said, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And if you guys are gonna give this as a gift to someone, you can be very Mexico City crazy style and wrap them in newspaper.
There you go, very authentic.
That is what they do when you buy tamales to go in the stands. They get newspaper. Let me have 6, let me have 12. They pile them and they wrap them in the
That's great.
newspaper. It's part of the craziness of tamales.
Well, we thank you all for a bite of history,
Oh, well,
for your instruction. This has been
Thank
great
you.
fun.
no, it is a lot of fun. And hopefully you guys can do another class with us, a live class.
Yes, we're,
And meet Angelita in person and
Yeah.
everything.
we are planning on that.
We would love that.
Thank you as well that for joining us. I'm looking down here, but thank you all for joining us because we couldn't do this without you. So we appreciate your presence and stay tuned for more culinary adventures in the future.